Welcome to Next Level eCommerce, the webinar series where top e-commerce experts share their advanced tips and tricks.
Yes, hello everyone. Good to have you all here. And for people in Europe, good that you're not on holiday, or maybe you're even watching this from your holiday destination. That would be even better. And that would make Austin very happy and us as well. For everyone in the US, because I know you're out there as well, good morning. For most of them, I think. Great to have you here and great to have such an audience here. And what I actually really like to see is that there are also quite some people attending for the second or maybe even the third, fourth, or maybe even more times. So we were actually also curious. So for the ones that didn't attend before, what would it take us to get you here the next time as well? Because with that we can learn and we can also make sure we add more value. So please leave that feedback to us in the chat, and we'll make sure to get that to you as well. But it's great to see that we see more people coming back, because that also means probably that we are providing more value there. So that's great. And today we have a very special guest, which is Austin, but we'll introduce him in a bit. And I think with a very, very nice topic as well. And of course, on search, we have already had two other, I would say, legends in the industry as well about search. So we had Marcel Small from Roots Network, who is actually really top level also in search. Used to work for Dentsu a long time, and we have Bob Meyer from PPC Mastery. And I actually really like to see this, why top advertisers still dominate with search ads, and especially because he's also going to tell you a bit about why PMAX only doesn't work and how AI will change the game here. Keep focused on that, but because there are a lot and many good insights on it. But before we do that, I also have, of course, some updates for you. First of all, let's start here. So we really drive this to have experts in the market here sharing actually strategies and what works and what doesn't to really give you inspiration to do something better or something else the next time you come out of it. So we really want to make it practical to really show you the how you can also do it and not only the why. So that's what we try to do every 2 months now to make sure we can add value there as well. And yes, we do have some house rules to also make sure that we make the most efficient webinar here. So Austin prepared a lot. He's sitting here early morning or maybe not so early morning, all for you. So make sure you're here because then you will also get the most value out of it. Besides that, you might have questions along the way. There is a nice chat of who a lot of people already found. But we also have a questions tab. So make sure to ask your questions there, because there we can upvote. And only the most upvoted questions we will get answered by Austin. And besides that, we are sometimes strict on time, but we're rather strict on quality. So it could be that we run out of time a bit, but everything is recorded. So if you have to go, if you have to drop off, that's possible because we have a recording in place. But we rather all have you here the whole time, of course. Besides that, if you would like to see any of the other webinars, last time we had Aaron Young here, really giving you more an insight on the bottom-up strategy using PMAX and demand gen. A lot of good insights also around AI and how he's using that to make sure we can do it. And I would say like this is really the thing, especially in 2025, where profits are always under pressure, to have a look at if you can. And we also have quite a nice guest coming in the next webinar. So the date is not being defined yet, but will soon. And you can already register here now, but he will tell you all about the best scripts you can use for Google Ads and e-commerce. And he's actually also on the top 5 of PPC influencers by PPC survey. So he really knows what he's talking about. So I would definitely sign up if you would like to know on how to use it and what are the best, and also to get practical insights there. Then another one, because we actually have quite some cool things coming up, and even a more professional session as well, which is the Impact Cube, of which you can actually see there is one that already has been in one of our webinars before, which is Ruben Runneboom, about how to optimize your product listings with AI. Besides that, there are a lot of other cool sessions on, basically how to get your business more successful. So definitely register there to also get access to all the content there. But before we only do all updates on webinars that are coming and the value we can provide, I think it's also time to give the stage to Jochem to introduce our guest for today.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome Austin. Nice to be here. I think everyone who watches YouTube regularly to learn about Google Ads probably has seen Austin. He has one of the largest Google Ads accounts about Google Ads, so really cool you're here today. And we're basically together on YouTube after this. And for people that don't know Austin, definitely check out his channel. Also in the slides, we will link to some of the YouTube videos that go into the topics that he will discuss today into more detail. So it's a really nice follow-up from what you'll learn today. Next to sharing his knowledge on YouTube, he also owns or co-owns an agency in the US for the past 10 years. A lot of e-commerce companies he manages, and he will share a lot of practical tips that he was actually applying himself in his agency. So that's cool. Yeah, excited you're here, and I think you have a very cool topic today. It's very hot. AI mode is not really available here in the Netherlands, but it's already there in the US for quite a while.
It's not AI mode's not in the Netherlands yet.
We don't know.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
The overviews.
Well, you guys will get a sneak peek today.
Yeah, nice. And yeah, of course, Google also announced the ads in AI mode, so it's really good timing to talk about search, what is working today and what is working in the US and tomorrow in the Netherlands. So really cool you're here. Before I give the word to you, we have a short poll for the audience. What's your biggest challenge when managing Google Ads?
And I would say choose wisely because you have a lot of options.
There's a lot of problems with Google Ads. So
yeah, only 4 to choose from them. Looking at the answers, rising costs is the top one, and then the metrics mismatch and performance max plateauing are like second and third, but very close. But rising costs is by far the chosen by 45%.
rising cost is the number one issue.
Exactly. Yeah. So
well, same with my grocery prices here in the US too. So rising cost on everything. So no, that's why when that poll happened, I figured that one or metric mismatch right now would be it. So but cool. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm excited to talk about this. I know when you guys reached out, I looked at kind of the past webinars that were done, and I thought search would be a good one because I didn't see a whole lot on it. And I do believe that a lot of people have gotten super lazy on search ads. And and I just see we've done hundreds of audits just this year alone from like $100 million plus companies all the way down to little small, mom and pop shops. So we see it all. And I just see the companies that are doing extremely well, like they have a really good mix still of new customer acquisition coming through search ads. It's not the majority, and I talk about that, but it is still good. It's a good piece to the game that a lot of people just have gotten lazy on. I mean, some account audits I do, like they only are running PMAX, and I think there's huge issues with that. So anyways, if you are one of the lazy ones out there, hopefully I inspire you to get back into some of the search game. I'm going to go over a lot of good stuff here. So first thing here, and this one might feel a little weird, but like sound familiar. Austin, Google says our conversions are up, but our backend sales are flat. We're spending more, but not seeing growth. So this is the poll of mismatch metrics, I think was one of the answers you could choose. This one might sound weird because a lot of people are like, what? Google Ads says conversions are up, but sales are down. It's either that or Google's down too, and they have the rising costs, but then they're seeing new customer acquisition decrease. So again, we've done hundreds of audits just this year alone. I mean, some huge companies, And one of the patterns that I've seen this year, and I just have found it very interesting because it really gets into strategy, which is another piece that I think is missing for a lot of companies, and at least on the Google ad side of things. And that's like, Google's telling me one thing, but my bank account's telling me another thing. Like my actual back end sales, my new customer acquisition on a monthly basis is down. What is going on? And so I'll get into that because you might be wondering, how does this have anything to do with search? I'll talk about that because I think search is a great driver of new customer acquisition. But this is really what caused me to want to talk about this, is just that pattern that I'm seeing with a lot of the audits that we're doing. So what you'll learn today: number one, why search ads still matter in 2025. Number two, correct search campaign structure. I'm going to talk about like how we think about search campaign structures here. AI mode, which I guess you guys don't have a shot at yet, but I'm sure that's coming. And you know, the new fancy feature now on search ads or search campaigns, AI Max. I talk about what it is, what we're seeing from it, how to set it up, etc. And then advanced optimization tactics, something that we've been testing for a lot of our clients that's doing extremely well. Okay, so what I'm seeing in 2025 audits, so for this year, I'm seeing an over-investment in Performance Max, and I think this has negatively impacted companies on new customer acquisition. I'm going to go into that a bit further. Obviously, you know, PMAX, the introduction of it over the last couple of years has been the biggest talk ever and the new biggest technology that Google's released. And I still have a play with Performance Max, but everyone has really invested heavy in it over the last few years. What I'm seeing today, though, is an over investment in it. And now back-end numbers for a lot of companies are reflecting a true issue with that over investment, especially when it comes to the new acquisition or new customer acquisition side. And I go into that because of the mechanics of how Performance Max works. Then people are neglecting search. So a lot of audits we're doing, it's just like, you guys are doing nothing with search campaigns. How is that possible? Again, that goes into number one, which is they just have over-invested in PMAX. They got lazy. They're doing what I call, so number three, easy button focus. All these automated solutions can make management easier, but it doesn't mean that's the correct strategy a lot of times. And so we're losing, or what I'm seeing is lost discipline. And it's just this continued easy button focus, auto solutions. And then it's like, hold on, what are you guys ultimately trying to do with your account? I think a lot of companies have just forgot about that. They had early success with Performance Max. They've continued to pour into it. And today they're pouring more money into the Google Ads account, but they are seeing less new customer acquisition on the back end of their actual true sales month to month. Okay, so most advertisers, as I've said, have gotten lazy with search, and it's been a full investment into Performance Max. So this is like a set it and forget it mentality. And I believe this is a big miss on new customer acquisition opportunities. So this is not a hard rule, by the way, folks. The 20% rule that winners follow. The goal: big growing companies still make 20% of sales from non-brand search. The 20%, like I said, is a made up number, but I think this is internally here at Grow My Ads, my agency. I put a goal on all of the accounts we run with my team, at least on e-commerce, obviously totally different with lead gen. But I'm like, if we're not producing 20% of conversions from search, figure it out. And listen, sometimes you can't, right? Sometimes the math doesn't work on search and you have to just ride shopping and PMAX and maybe some other campaign types. But I challenge them because, again, I think there's a lot of people have gotten lazy of setting up search campaigns. They just want to continue to invest and look at, you know, PMAX or standard shopping. And there's, I love standard shopping still, by the way, but search can be kind of hard. It's more expensive. There's the ad piece, ad assets, keywords, the behavior of all of that with smart bidding, negative key. It actually is a lot of work involved on the search side. And I think people have just gotten lazy. So audit your account today, whether you're a business owner, you're a freelancer, you own an agency, whatever. Look at your accounts. If you are under 20% of your conversion volume on non-brand search, I believe you're leaving money on the table. Again, I don't think everyone's going to be able to hit 20%, but if you're looking at, I've seen accounts and it's like 5%, 2%. I'm like, this is a huge problem. It's because, and then if I just go through the change history throughout the last year, it's because they're not actively trying to do anything with search. So search is a great opportunity for cold new customer acquisition. I'm going to get into that. And I just think it's completely missed if you're under this 20% mark. Okay. Why I still love search ads. It's because you can take back control of high intent new customer acquisition. And at the end of the day, we're trying to acquire more new customers for your company or companies to grow businesses, right? So with search ads, the reason I still like it, you get control over high intent, non-brand targeting. You can produce a lot of first click. These are people who have no idea who you are. First click new customer acquisition. That is key. Cold traffic generation, not warm audience recycling, which Performance Max is prone to do. I'll talk about that. And precision targeting. So what I mean by precision targeting is you kind of are telling Google exactly what you want to go after, where Performance Max is not, you kind of lean into the AI in regards to that. Also, I talk about with Google's own docs, how search can override Performance Max. So you can take back some of that precision targeting and control without PMAX, just kind of black boxing it. And so I like this because search is a lever for continued new customer acquisition and growth. Okay, the Performance Max plateau problem, and this is what I'm seeing major in 2025. People continue to spend more, but they're getting fewer new customers. I know I've repeated that about 5,000 times already on this slide, but that's the biggest absolute issue that is happening. And it's continued spend on PMAX. Everyone just keeps pouring more into it, and they're not really receiving that on the back end. And so Google Ads is continuing to spend more, but you continue to get a decrease of new customer acquisition on the back end, or decreased overall sales with the higher spend, especially if you're looking at like year-over-year metrics, or even in some cases for companies today, what they were doing at the beginning of the year is completely different from what they're seeing today currently within their accounts. Again, I think one of the biggest issues is Performance Max. It's great to start with. I'm not pooing on Performance Max by any means. We still use it, right? But in a lot of, if you're under like 10K in spend, 15K, don't use these as hard numbers, but it is good to actually grow up with. It can get things going. You can get momentum. You're getting on lots of Google's inventory. But eventually, and you guys will know this, anyone who's been in this problem, eventually you hit a plateau. And then you're like, shoot, what do I do? And you either A, increase bids, right? And then you just pay more for pretty much what you're getting in most cases once you're plateaued, or you just try to spend more. And again, you just end up spending more on what you're currently getting. This is happening to companies, big companies. I recently was working with a company who's probably like about 50 million in revenue, and all they were running was a massive amount of Performance Max campaigns. They kept pouring more money into it, so their year-over-year ad spend was much higher than where they were at last year, and new customer sales were down. And I broke this problem down with them through a consultation and opened them up to, hey, hold on a second. Strategically, this no longer makes sense. What are you guys trying to do? You're trying to acquire more new customers. Continuing to pour in on a plateaued PMAX structure is no longer going to serve you well. So why does Performance Max plateau? Well, it focuses on easy conversions. The biggest thing, warm audience targeting. I have data that proves this. It absolutely because we've all really been brainwashed by ROAS is the key metric. I think ROAS is a good benchmark metric when you're starting out. Once you start playing with some big money and you're really trying to grow your company, ROAS is not the metric to be looking at. And warm audience traffic is not how you grow your business. Now, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel is great. It has a play in the game, but I'm trying as at least an agency with my clients, my goal is to bring you more new customers at the math that makes sense financially for your business to grow, right? What PMAX, what we have found does at a certain point is it really just rabbit holes on warm traffic. And I'll talk about this a little more because you're like, what is warm traffic? It could be repeat buyers. If you have a product like supplements where you have customers that come back over and over again, I have found many Performance Max campaigns that are well over 50% of repeat buyers. Or warm traffic from other channels. It could be Meta, it could be TikTok, it could be a conference you were at, it could be some of the Google ad campaigns that you're running today and you have no idea that that's the actual new customer driver for you. And PMAX knows, hey, Sally was on the website 3 days ago, spent 5 minutes, looked at the product pages, and now she's searching our product type again, right? That is what it kind of seems to rabbit hole on. And this is part of the issue with the Plateau. So you get this recycled traffic, and then what happens is you get stagnant growth. And again, when you plateau, this is what we've seen with PMAX, is you continue to get, then as you spend more or try to increase your bids, you're just getting more of the same traffic that it's already been targeting, which is an issue then because new customer acquisition doesn't grow and new customer acquisition cost just continue to go up. Okay, here's the biggest issue of it all. And this is the customer attribution journey map. It's hilarious when I bring this like little 3-point journey. By the way, most people have like, 11 touch points or something. It's not 3, but I want to simplify this. This is, to me, one of the biggest issues with a lot of media buyers, agencies, business owners who manage their own accounts, whatever it may be. And it really is they forget, we all get caught in data. And instead of being marketers, we act like data scientists. And that's not always good to grow businesses. And we forget think how you buy products, right? Think of a customer journey. Now, this is a simplified version of this, but this will go into why I think PMAX can be an issue when you plateau it. So day one, and I use meta ad. You could be non-brand search. It could be non-brand shopping ad. It could be TikTok, could be whatever, but no one knows who you are yet. Day one, someone's on or Instagram or Facebook, they see a meta ad, right? And it could be like this, spill-proof tumbler. This looks cool. Okay, I'm interested. They click. This is Owala, no affiliation, obviously, but I've never heard of Owala. So cool. I probably should get a tumbler at some point, stop drinking water bottles. I go check it out. I'm on their website. I'm not ready to buy. They just disrupted me. But I was interested. Then a few days later, as I'm drinking a water bottle, I'm like, I need to get away from plastics. And keep hearing about all these microplastics. I'm going to go check out tumblers again, right? So now I'm searching for tumblers. Google search, especially if you're operating with smart bidding, is going to have a remarketing component to it. Google knows that I was on Owala's website just a few days ago, and I spent 3 minutes looking at their products. I didn't buy, but I am a warm, high intent audience data point to Google, right? And now I'm literally searching tumblers. Now, I might not be searching for Owala. I could have forgotten about Owala already. I remember checking out a tumbler, but I'm searching. I'm ready to invest or buy a tumbler. They know this. My ad pops up if you're running, right? Cool. I remember Owala. Go check them out again. Still not ready to buy for whatever reason. Couple days later, I'm ready to buy. Guess what? PMAX scoops me up. So that's that last click conversion. 90% of accounts that I'm seeing today, right now, would continue to invest more in PMAX in this whole scenario. And that's what's going on. What role did PMAX even play in this? It scooped up the last click. It got the attribution, if you're looking at in-app attribution of Google Ads, and it looks really pretty. Wow, our ROAS is super high on PMAX. Let's keep pouring more into it. Where did you actually acquire a new customer? It was right here. It was the meta ad. Again, it could be a non-brand shopping ad. It could be a non-brand search ad. It could be TikTok, whatever. I didn't know about Owala day one. Day four, when I made a purchase, it was through a PMAX remarketing, whether it's remarketing me on shopping, search, Gmail, display, whatever, right? It picked me up in the moment I was ready to buy, and it got the attribution, or at least most of it. And what most companies are doing today is continuing to pour the money here at day four of the customer journey, when the reality is, to get more new customers, you got to look at day one. Where are people who have not heard of us finding us? Well, if I actually poured more money here, even though in-app attribution probably looks horrendous there, I get more new customers. And that is how I grow my business, right? And this is the biggest problem with PMAX and the overinvestment of it. So here's some of the data that proves it. Now, I know this is a search presentation, so we will get into the search because this plays a huge role into the new customer acquisition piece I keep talking about. This is a report from Wicked Reports. It's used as server-side tracking, third-party attribution. This was a company I was consulting with. This is 7 days of data. So 1 week, their numbers looked good, right? And I'm like, go hook up with Wicked Reports. I want to show you something before I tore them apart, basically. So they did. We got 7 days of data inside of their account on their PMAX campaign. And again, they were pretty much only invested in 3 PMAX campaigns when I first started working with them. Their numbers looked good. Like, Austin, these numbers look really good for us. And I'm like, yeah, you see 12,000 in revenue for, and I forget what their spend was, but it made sense for them at that time. I go, did you know, and this is not me making this up, this is proven tracking data, that you actually only acquired 5,000 in new revenue. This was a supplement company. I go, does that math make sense for you guys? No, it does not. They had no idea. They just were looking at this aggregate number of 12. 7,000 of that 12 came from repeat buyers. This is another screenshot that Wicked Reports will give you. Like, you can, there's High Rose, there's Triple Whale, North Beam, whatever. I don't care which one you use, but you can use this data if you're spending enough, and you can hook up with like third-party attribution to get this. This is a screenshot of his PMAX sales. Look how many repeat customers he had. 1, 2, 3. I mean, and you could just scroll down through all the sales, right? This customer at the top, they first purchased from him back in 2024. So when he's looking at his Google Ads PMAX campaign in app, he's seeing 12,000 in weekly sales from it at whatever his cost was. And that number, that ROAS, looked good to him. He's like, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. The reality is, more than 50% of his revenue was repeat customers coming back, and PMAX was scooping that up. You don't grow a business like that. That's not how you grow the company. Again, middle of the funnel is fine. Bottom of the funnel is fine. It plays a role. But you cannot mathematically go acquire new customers within a PMAX campaign that's more than 50% just driving back repeat customers. It's impossible. Now, going into search a little more, right? Here's Google's own documentation that proves search control. So it used to be PMAX would kind of override search when it first came out. Actually, you have control. And so search campaigns with your keyword targeting, especially if you're using exact match keywords, which I am still a fan of, even if I'm using a lot of broad match. If the user's query is identical to an exact match keyword in your search campaign, the search campaign will be prioritized over PMAX. Good. That brings me some control back on the search side. So this was, when I read this, I immediately went in. I was like, we must still be testing exact match. Don't, if you're using a lot of broad today, which for big spenders you can, and it will work. For smaller spenders, it's still so-so. I still use a lot of exact, or test a lot of exact, because of this reason, because I can kind of get some of that control back on the search side away from Performance Max just trying to scoop it all up. So my framework for 2025 is using a lot, and I'll go a little further into this, is using a lot of search ads, non-brand, and shopping, really heavy on non-brand shopping as well. That is my lever for cold traffic. That is my lever for new customer acquisition. I use Performance Max with this hybrid approach now, where I'm actually I'm making it act more like a remarketing campaign on steroids. I'll get into that. You technically can't just turn it into a remarketing campaign, but I will get into that. And I'll show you with our strategy there. And then I'm backing all of this up with true back-end data of new customers and the cost to acquire those new customers in CAC, which I think is the most important metric all of you as e-commerce businesses, freelancers, working with e-commerce businesses or whatever should be looking at. In CAC is the most important metric. All right, how I structure modern search campaigns. So keywords, before, I've been in this game for a decade, keywords used to be the exact search. So that'd be syntax. So Google, this is Google's own documentation. We used to match searches to keywords based on syntax, matching the specific word with each search. Now it's more semantics. That's the meaning of search. So this is going more into intent-based targeting. It's not what they search, it's what their intent of the search is. So the old way, keyword stuffing, because you had these keyword gaps you were always trying to close, SCAG structures, which used to be my favorite, alpha beta, which used to be my favorite. And some of this, if you guys are new, you might be like, what's alpha beta? Older guys like myself now in the game, they'll know what alpha beta is. Match type separation or segmentation. You're like, exact goes in one ad group, phrase goes in the other, broad goes in the other, and hyper granular. So super granular, lots of keywords, lots of segmentation. That used to work wonderfully back in the day. You had all this granular control. That no longer works today. Fragments the data, hurts machine learning. New way, themed campaigns based on intent, themed ad groups based on intent, focused keywords, keyword match type combination of broad and exact. I'll get into how you get there and I'll do it quickly. And then consolidation. Consolidation is key. This is an example of a campaign architecture example. Old way. Keyword hunter mentality, tons of keywords. So 2,800 keywords in here. We're missing keywords. We're missing keywords. That used to be a big thing. You're always like finding gaps, right? Adding thousands of keywords to avoid gaps, SCAG structure, everything I just talked about. The new way, and this is a plumber example, but we have emergency plumber ad group, toilet repair, general. These are themed. These are themed keywords that are being used within that. A mixture of broad and exact. To me, broad and exact is kind of like the best combination for search campaigns today. Once you're able to get to there, and I'll show you how you actually do that in the structure. This is an example of why segmented campaigns breaks today. It slows the learning down. So if you could, and I have examples of this that you guys can check out later, but if I could take all 4 of these campaigns and put them into one single campaign, if it makes sense, right? If it is the same theme or a similar audience you're targeting, you get faster learning. So more data for optimization, because you now have 1,000 total clicks into one campaign. When you segment, you'd have 250 out of 4. It just fragments machine learning, and that's not good with how machine learning works. So consolidation, faster algorithm learning, better budget optimization, and it helps with the smart bidding and then clear performance trends there. I have a case study. I think you guys get this slide deck emailed or something. So there's a YouTube link to it, to my channel. We did a case study on, we took an account that had 20 campaigns. They were doing everything I said you shouldn't do. And we literally consolidated it to 2. It made sense. We weren't like doing stupid consolidation. It was all themed and made sense. We increased this. This is an e-commerce business. We increased them by 290,000 in revenue and doubled their ROAS in 120 days. I know I say ROAS is not the metric I like using as key to success, but it's an easy one to put in a case study when you're just talking Google Ads metrics. But anyways, phenomenal results. And the client was like, what? We went from 20 campaigns to like this very simplified, consolidated structure and blew up his sales. Okay, my 2025 campaign build process. We analyze existing data from PMAX and shopping campaigns, usually the search data, right? We identify high performing search terms from that. Listen, I said 20% is kind of the goal to get from non-brand search. 80% is still going to be coming from your shopping ads, your e-commerce. That's just how it is. And it makes sense for a customer journey standpoint. Product ads do dominate. But I'm taking what works with my product ads in shopping and PMAX on the search terms that are working with those products, And now I'm going to go build those out in search campaigns to take back some precision targeting that I talked about. So I go build consolidated search campaigns around proven winners through what my 80% of my sales are coming from, which is the product side, right? Product ads. And I start precise. I start with exact and phrase match. I do not add broad yet. I'll get into why. And so this gives me back control because it overrides PMAX. I got precision control. It prevents some cannibalization with PMAX. You still will have some. And then I get message control back. This is why I still love search. Now, with a new search campaign, even with taking high-performing search terms away or finding them through my search query report with shopping or PMAX, I need to get a volume ramp up in a search campaign. And it's easier when you're working with high-performing search terms that come from shopping or PMAX. So step one, I'm taking historical search terms. Step two, I'm usually going to utilize max conversion value because I've already had success with these search terms on shopping. And so I just need volume now. I need to get to like 30 to 50 conversions per month. Usually that's my goal. So I go through this volume ramp up period. I do not care about efficiency yet. Then here's the bidding evolution. I start on max conversion value. I get my volume eventually. Okay, cool. I've got 30, 50 conversions in the last 30 days. I now take the historical target ROAS or whatever ROAS I was getting. So let's say I was getting 200% ROAS from utilizing max conversion value and I got my volume. I then set it to either A, 190 if I'm going to be super aggressive, or 210 to be conservative. So I'm now putting a TROAS cap on it to start governing and controlling the campaign itself. Now, step three, and this is where broad match comes into play, I now layer in broad match keywords. So I get the foundation built, I get the campaign under control, I get to usually a TROAS bid strategy for e-commerce on my search campaigns. Then I layer in broad match. Broad match is like the steroids or the nitrous boost to the campaign. I do not start with broad match, especially with a max conversion value bid strategy. I only want to layer broad on campaigns I've already dialed in. I have volume and I have a good consistent campaign with a TROAS bid strategy that's working. So when and how to add broad match, I just broke that all down. This slide goes through it a little more. You need the volume, you need to be on TROAS, and you need stability. And then I layer it in for further expansion. Okay, the future of search with AI Max. All right, Google's AI mode, which is their LLM like search engine now. They claim over 100 million users are already engaging with that. Obviously, none of you guys in the Netherlands, so you're not in that data pool. Obviously, it'll be coming. Ads are set to expand before Q4, and so ads will now be a part of that, which will be very interesting. This will be the continued evolution of what we see probably with Google Ads in the future. So this is happening now. Here's what Google's saying about AI mode. Most powerful AI search with advanced reasoning, ability to go deeper through follow-up questions. Users, and this is the most interesting to me, users are asking queries 2 to 3 times longer than traditional search, and it's an end-to-end AI search experience. I don't really use AI mode a lot right now. If I'm using LLMs, it's Claude or ChatGPT. I'm using those as my therapist sometimes. I'm having like full conversations. I literally use my microphone, and because I want to ask so in-depth questions. I don't want to type all day. So some days I'm in my office like a crazy person, just talking to Claude or ChatGPT, frameworking ideas out with my mic, just talking into it. So it's no longer like exact keyword searches. It's these conversations. And that's been a big topic many people are talking about. Ads will play a role now in the future of those, right? Especially with Google's AI mode. So it's a shift from queries to conversations. And these could be, long conversations that they're having. This will be a shift from traditional keyword-based targeting. Now, this is just happening now. I can't project what this all will look like, but we've got requirements to show in AI mode that I at least have data on right now. And so if you want to make sure your ads are showing on AI mode, if you're available, like we're currently in the US, then there's just a few things that you need. You need to be testing broad match on search campaigns, or utilizing AI Max in your search campaigns, utilizing Performance Max, or have a shopping campaign set up. Most of you probably have one of these already. So it's not really that big of a deal. By the way, for the shopping ad standpoint, shout out to Channable. You're going to need, a very good feed. So feed hygiene is critical. This is Google's own documentation, by the way, that says this. Feed hygiene is critical. If you have a crap feed, you're going to have crap results, right? So the better your feed, the better opportunity you will have with getting ad placement in AI mode. Again, I'm no expert on AI mode yet, but this is what we're preparing for. Now, AI Max, this is out now. It's in search campaigns. What is it? So they claim it's broad enhancement. I still don't know what that really means. I've been testing it. I just did a YouTube video on it. Basically, if you're not using broad match, it just taps into broad match technology. It's text customization. What does that mean? It's a rebrand of something that already existed called automatically created assets. You guys are probably all familiar with that. They just renamed it. It's final URL expansion. What does that mean? That's just DSA technology. So if you've ever used dynamic search ads, that's all that is. So AI Max is this new thing. It got a lot of hype, mainly because of the name. We've been testing it. I haven't had the greatest results so far. I'll give you my recommendations there. It literally is just a toggle button. So if you go into a search campaign, you go to settings, you can just turn it on there. Here's my thought so far. It's existing features that already exist, and they just packaged it into this really easy button now that you can click. Now, Google, when they release new technology, it usually sucks. A year later, it usually is pretty good. And so here at Grow My Ads, we're testing. I keep testing until it's good. And I do that wisely with my clients' money, right? But I realize I don't like it right now, at least for the results I'm getting, but I realize it's going to be really good probably in the future. That's how most their tech is. PMAX sucked in the beginning. Broad match sucked in the beginning. Smart bidding was terrible in the beginning. All of that was bad in the beginning. And then it gets better over time. And that's mainly because they're training their algorithms on your guys' advertising dollars. And so they get you to tap into their new tech, and then they get more data points to be able to train it, and then it gets really good. So I think it's a bit of robbery, but kudos to Google for creating the, probably best business in the world that's ever been built. AI Max. Here's a real screenshot of the search query report for an account that I run. This account sells sectional sofas. It's called Home Reserve. Here's some of the search terms that started popping up. Home. I don't know. I thought that was a glitch, but we were literally just showing for the word home. Then we had home store, and my favorite was buy England furniture online. This furniture is made where I live in, it's called Fort Wayne, Indiana. This company is down the road from me. And the ad that AI Max actually created was made in USA. So someone typed in buy England furniture online, and they created an ad for us that said made in USA. I mean, this furniture is made in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So the results so far have been pretty bad. Now, the stuff that's good, which is interesting, is like stuff that I was already getting from Broadmatch. So I'm testing, but I'm not fully on board yet. I'm not saying everyone should go flick AI Max on. So here's my recommendations from testing this with large spenders and small. What we have found is it can work well with large accounts already using a ton of Broadmatch. Just flick it on. You're a massive spender, probably. You've got massive amounts of conversion data, lots of volume. You're fine. Go test it. Smaller accounts that are not using Broadmatch yet, avoid it. If you want to test it, I recommend using a 50-50 experiment. So do a campaign experiment, split 50% of traffic to AI Max on, have the rest of the traffic go to your current setup with AI Max off. Make sure to keep an eye out on the landing pages, search terms, and ad copy. And again, it can get pretty bad, as I just showed you for Home Reserve. So you must have a diligent eye on that. But if you're going to test, give it a few weeks without touching anything. You've got to give it a couple weeks. So don't give it 2 days and shut it off. Let it try to recalibrate itself and run for at least a couple weeks. So have the gut for a 2-week test minimum. If you're going to do it, but you can be conservative with the 50-50 experiment split with the campaigns. Okay, last topic, because I know I'm probably running over time. Advanced optimization tactics. So there's some, requirements before I would tell you to go do what I'm about to tell you to do. You must have search campaigns built using 3 different what I just broke down in section 2, okay, on how I build my search campaigns out. You must have progressed through all phases using phrase and exact. You've got the volume ramp up period, and now you're tapped into smart bidding. You've now successfully utilized broad match keywords, so you're already there. This is optional. I just threw it in. Tested AI Max. This is optional. You don't really need that. And then back-end tracking. This is actually the most important piece. You must have a true grasp of how many new customers do I get each week and what's my NCAC. And that NCAC just means new customer acquisition cost. So it's your CPA of just new customers, right? You need to have true clarity of this before you would go into what I'm about to have you look at. So it's called the feeder strategy. A couple nerds out there, John Moran and Caden, good guys. I like them both. I learned this from them, and I was skeptical at first, but we've been testing a lot, and it's worked wonderfully on new customer acquisition for us. So what is the feeder strategy? How does it actually work? Feeder strategy, we bid aggressive on non-brand search and shopping campaigns, so not PMAX. This is where we're getting all that first click, first time cold traffic that I just showed you in the customer journey. People are going to usually not buy day one. They're going to browse. We're using Performance Max to scoop them up. Again, it's PMAX. PMAX turns into remarketing on steroids. I'm doing that by having a higher bid on it. If you want to learn more, go to my YouTube channel. I'll break all of this down. The conversions usually flow into PMAX, right? But I'm able to now have new customer acquisition leverage and control through aggressive non-brand search campaigns and aggressive standard shopping campaigns. No brand search terms are in any of that. I exclude all of that and put those in a brand only campaigns. This is what that architecture looks like. Feeder campaigns are non-brand standard or non-brand shopping, non-brand search. PMAX is PMAX, turns into my remarketing on steroids. Then I have brand protection. That's brand search, brand shopping. Some of you may be like, how do you run brand shopping? Go to my YouTube channel. I'll show you how to do that. But it's very simple. Negate it from everything else. Run a very small bid or high T ROAS on a standard shopping, and all your brand terms will go there. Now, again, you need back-end validation on all of this. You need to know NCAC. You need to know back-end sales. You probably should have some third-party attribution. You don't need that. You can just use some back-end reporting. And I also like to look at first-click attribution. You would need to be using a tool like Wicked Reports or something probably to look at that. But you don't need all of that to test it. You just have to have a grasp of your back-end sales, how many new customers, what's the NCAC I'm currently getting before you would go test this type of strategy. Case study I recently did on the YouTube channel. You'll have the link in this slide deck. I go through an e-commerce client, a bit smaller, but we increased their revenue 109%, which was about $37,000, so pretty good for them. In 22 days, ROAS was actually higher too. And so, and we had back-end numbers for them as well. So this was all proven with back-end actual true sales and new customer acquisition. This was a perfect case study. It was a smaller account. I think they were only spending like 10K, but go check that out. I give you how to set it up, how I set it up, and I give you the real results with that case study. Okay, key takeaways, and then I'll shut up. 20% of your Google Ads revenue should come from non-brand search. Again, not a hard rule, but challenge yourself with that number. PMAX plateaus. So if you're in that stage, you got to be thinking on some of the stuff I just showed you here today. Exact match will override PMAX. So I still love testing exact match. Build your search campaigns using proven data from PMAX and shopping. AI Max is now important due to AI mode. I don't know how all of this will progress yet. I'm no prophet. I'm no Google engineer, but stay on top of it, right? So if you're going to test AI Max, do it strategically and conservatively. Then test the feeder strategy if you're in this plateaued state, like as I showed you, but have back-end validation of everything. Again, my favorite metric, and I think it's the most important, is NCAC. So know your NCAC, know how many new customers you're bringing in. And the future of search is going to be conversational. So stay on top of that as we continue to evolve and progress. Okay, there we go. Sorry for going over.
Thanks a lot, Austin. And no worries for going over, because we said it in the beginning, right? Rather do quality and then only look at the minutes.
I knew I'd go over. I knew I always go over.
You should have said that before. Then we knew. No worries. And we actually already get quite some good feedback coming in. So that's actually really nice. To recap a bit, I really actually liked you talking about the PMAX Plateau. I think we see that a lot also in shopping, right? People really trust on the target ROAS, and then of course what it does, getting you this ROAS, but you can do better. And I think it's a really concrete example also on how you can do it within PMAX. So really like that, and actually also, yeah, now I know what a Walla is. I'm actually also happy about that. So that's you would recommend the Walla, right? No, but thanks for the real clear explanation. To me, it was a great presentation, and of course, we also had a lot of questions already. We did go a bit over time, so it would take around the 4 most upvoted questions, and we'll try to look into if we can also answer the others in the follow-up. But that's what we have to discuss with Austin as well, to make sure everyone is getting the value, and also for the questions about the links and the YouTube videos, you all get that as well. And of course, there is way more to find on his channel, because everything he talked about, he almost, I think for everything, already has an explanation on it on a YouTube channel. So check that out as well. And then let's move forward to the most upvoted questions.
Yes, thanks, Austin. At least you broke a record. You got like the highest score of people saying like the content was perfect, 93%. So that's really good.
93, okay. 7% didn't like it. So I wanted to hit 100.
That's either too advanced or too easy. So who do you want to talk with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go over the questions, the ones that have the most upvotes, so you can also see them, Austin. First one is from Frank. It's a bit on the right side of my screen. Regarding a statement that 50% of revenue comes from existing customers from PMAX, what is your experience with the setting that allows PMAX to adjust your bids for new customers?
Yeah, I get that asked a lot. So if you use third-party attribution, like Wicked Reports, what we have found is Google actually does a really horrendous job of knowing repeat from new. And even like if you go through and exclude previous customers from the account or your campaigns, and so you try to do like all of the safety steps there to make sure it's only going after new, it just does a really bad job of that. And so we actually are able to acquire more new customers through the build that I just showed you without that setting even on. So I don't even have that setting checked on my PMAX campaign, and I'm able to actually get more from it. When we've turned it on and tested, it seems to suffocate the campaign too much. So we open it up, but we control it through the bidding. So again, non-brand search and shopping is going to be more aggressive bidding. I'll give you an example. I might be running 100% ROAS or 200% ROAS on non-brand search and shopping. PMAX is going to be higher, probably 300 to 400%. Why am I doing that? I'm overriding PMAX because if you have the same product in PMAX and the same product in shopping, how do you get the click, right? Google decides by ad rank. Well, it's the same product. So bid is going to get the win. And so if you have a higher bid on shopping, you can kind of funnel a lot of that first click shopping traffic to your standard shopping campaign. And then you have control there, which is really nice because you can be aggressive, or if you have to back it down, you can. So you've got a bit of spigot control, which I like again. With PMAX, you lost that. And it drove me insane. I always felt like, man, I have no lever control anymore, where I used to with like alpha beta structure and all that back in the day. This feels like I've got a little control back on that new customer acquisition side. PMAX then being on that higher ROAS, it will naturally follow the warm traffic. And in my YouTube video, I show this. It's hilarious. I set this feeder strategy up. PMAX actually increased in revenue with no additional spend to it because it just captured more clicks that I was able to drive from my standard shopping. That campaign or that account case study is all shopping in PMAX. There's actually no search running in there. And it's because the guy's only spending like 10, 15K right now. So we're still limited by budget on all of that. So we're going to max that out before we start tapping further into the search side. But we run search heavy too with our bigger accounts, again, from the new customer acquisition standpoint. But test that feature if you have third-party attribution. I have found it doesn't do well. John Moran actually has a YouTube video somewhere floating out there where he gives his results on it too. And it's the same feedback that we have seen where it just suffocates the campaign and you actually end up getting more new customers without that that setting turned on.
Nice. Good test indeed. Then a question from Joost about, you mentioned ROAS isn't the metric. So what is the metric? That was the new customer acquisition costs.
Yeah. Yes. And I think a lot of people need to, like companies, marketers, we all need to take a step back, because like ROAS has been crammed down our throats for like the last 5 to 10 years. And it is when you're starting out, it's fine. It's a good benchmark, right? You need something. But when you're an existing company, especially if you're already doing millions and you're trying to grow, especially if you're over like 10 million, you should not be using ROAS. You have, ultimately, what are you trying to do? You're trying to acquire new customers, right? If your ad dollars only went to get people coming back to buy from you, you're doing a real poor job then of growing your business. And you're doing a really poor job of getting them to come back, right? I don't need Owala to tell me to come back. If I lose this thing, I'm just going to go to Owala and buy it again. I don't need an ad to convince me to come buy from them. I like their product. You know what they did a really good job of, though? Getting me in through an ad. And that's a lie, because I actually, this was a word of mouth deal, but take a product that I've purchased from an ad. And, but something, this shirt, by the way, I always give this example. This shirt, I got an Instagram ad. All right. I like black t-shirts, minimalistic, no logos, right? They showed me an ad of a model wearing minimalistic clothing with a black t-shirt. I'm like, that looks pretty cool. I went and checked it out. Did I buy from them that day? Absolutely not. But I remembered them. 6 months later, I was like, you know what? I need to re-up on my black tees, because they're all, faded. And so I got to get some fresh ones. So I remembered them. I directly went to them because I remembered the company. I went to their website. I purchased black tees from them, and I actually liked them. And so I bought a lot of black tees from them and other clothing. Where was the attribution there for them? That Instagram ad that I saw 6 months ago got zero attribution in my sale. And I'm probably worth thousands of dollars to them every year. So what got attribution there? It would have been direct, because I directly went to their website, or probably directly searched their name at least, right? No one knows a company out of the gate. So that's why when you look at like direct traffic, brand traffic, no one knew that before. Something caused them to find that company, whether it's word of mouth, an ad, social, whatever, right? That is where you grow new customers. And that's where a lot of people are forgetting. So the ultimate metric on an advertising standpoint, when companies hire me, is to drive more new customers at a number mathematically that makes sense for their business, right? So if Owala only makes, $50 on this and their LTV isn't very high, I probably should be acquiring new customers for less than $50, right? For that to mathematically make sense for them to grow their company. And so you have to know that number, and literally that's all you need to know. And sometimes I tell clients, forget in-app attribution. On average, you're getting 100 new customers per week at a $50 NCAC, and that's acceptable to you. Let's now aggressively bid on non-brand search and non-brand shopping. We're going to increase spend by 20%. Let's see what happens on the back end. Does new customers go up from 100? And does our NCAC, it probably will increase, but does it increase to a healthy zone for us? If it does, then I know I'm doing my job correctly by sending them cold traffic that is acquiring new customers for them. It's their job later then to get those customers to buy back from them, right? Then that's that LTV game. But as an advertiser, my job is to acquire more new customers for them. That's how you grow the business.
Nice. And like the fasting test?
Fasting tip as well, yeah. And let's do one more question, and then we'll try to make sure to also answer the other ones, but then in a follow-up.
Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds good. Then a question from Teresa about the campaign mix to cover mid-funnel strategy. Is it better to start with both PMAX and search at the same time, or first PMAX and then utilize the information for search?
So repeat that. I was sorry.
Yes, it's asking about the mid-funnel strategy and then the campaign mix. Is it better to start both with PMAX and search at the same time, or first PMAX and then utilize the information you get from PMAX for a search campaign?
Well, so good question. I would assume maybe this is like more on the smaller spin side, or just like starting out. Here's my, and hopefully this answers it a little bit. here's my roadmap for a newer account that's e-commerce. I actually start with standard shopping. I do not start with PMAX. I get standard shopping warmed up and working. Then I'll test PMAX. So I'll actually start moving a little further into PMAX. Because again, I think smaller spenders, newer accounts, you can grow with PMAX. Eventually you're going to plateau, like I talked about. That plateau is a nasty place to be. And what I just showed you today is how to get out of it. So that gets a little more advanced. But I'm not generally doing search yet on newer builds, newer accounts, new e-commerce or smaller e-commerce. Max out. I just shared with you, 80% of sales from Google ads for e-commerce comes from shopping ads, right? If my dollars are limited, I want to maximize my ad spend. So I'm going to maximize the 80%, which is the product side. However, as you're growing that, so let's say you're now tapped into the PMAX side of things and you've got more money coming in and you can start expanding your investments, then I start doing more campaign expansion. That is when I would start layering in search. Where I'm seeing issues is spenders who are spending quite a bit, over 10K, 20, 50K, whatever per month, and they literally are running barely any search. Like, to me, that's a major issue. That's a major gap in what you can do in order to acquire more new customers. They just have fully invested in PMAX essentially. And that to me is like a huge issue.
Great. Thanks a lot for all the answers on the questions. When we even have more asked in, so that also means you did a good job, because then people are definitely more interested to hear more. So we'll do the follow-up with everyone to also make sure you get the recording, you get the slides, and with the slides, of course, you get also the links to his YouTube channel. But if you are in a rush, then go directly, because there's way more to find there. And again, thanks, Austin, for the concrete examples. Really liked on how you explain it, actually, because in the end, I think if you explain it from a buyer's perspective, usually it's way more easy to understand why it doesn't work and why it could work. So thanks a lot for that, and hope to have you in another session with us as well. And then, yeah, I would say one more time, thank you, and I hope to see everyone in the next webinar.